Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Grim Dawn. We are playing with the Ashes of Malmouth expansion as a dual gun toting Inquisitor. And we are rapidly closing in on Fort Ikon. With a bit of luck this episode we will actually go there. Now of course on the way to Fort Ikon we have to make a quick stop at the tube of the Archon. We're siding with Kaiman's Chosen in this playthrough, so that means we'll have to rescue the ashes rather than steal them. Because for the Necromancers you have to steal them to resurrect one of your buddies. Here we have to prevent something like that from happening. And looks like the things here are pretty darn angry. In between episodes I did a little warm-up. Actually dinged level 40. Put a couple more points into the fire proc for our attack. So that one is now maxed out. Bursting rounds. So it has a slightly larger AoE. And it does a little bit more damage. Or a higher percentage of our weapon damage, as well as flat damage. And there is a corpse here. Wonderful. Well, not quite for that corpse, but for us, because corpses mean loot. Your motivations can get a little twisted in this game. Only a little. Though in all fairness, that's what most games tend to do. Your incentives in the game are very different from incentives in real life. But then again, that's why they're games. We're just gonna say hello to our little friend here. So I've been experimenting a little bit more with the Horn of Gandar. And it is rather useful for keeping a group of mobs at bay. And you can alternate between diplomacy from the Herald's Mask and the Horn of Gandar. And most of the time that does help you keep some crowds under control. Very weak enemies, they will just get killed outright. Because the damage component on the maxed out Horn of Gandar is pretty decent, at least at this level. Oh, that's up a higher level, so that's difficult to shoot. So if you just do a force walk and run in this case they're people, so people do have a little bit more health, but something like the weak skeletons or the little Cutonians, those like skipping balls with teeth, those little things. They're pretty easy to murderize, since they don't really have all that much health. Oh, they have to rely on numbers. If numbers is a strategy something relies on, usually you can do pretty well. So I think this now also has an easier exit, even though before it was already pretty decent. Because normally you exit from here. So I'm wondering if this has more of an exit going on or not. Okay. Well, we cleared that one out. So let's head over here. I always go over here. So let's just stick to the habits. Habits are good. Let's see. Let's get ourselves surrounded a little bit more and then just confuse the heck out of them. They're casters. Confusing casters is pretty nice since it means they'll be utterly useless. Now this is also a little bit more difficult because most of the time casters tend to get themselves surrounded. Or they tend to stay a little further away, so it's more difficult to get yourself surrounded with a bunch of them. Situations like this though, now you just use force walk to, by default I think is bound to F. So you can just use that to not actually target any enemies. And then you can use your AoE abilities to tag more enemies at the same time. And our Horn of Gandar is once again auto-casting. It's kind of odd that it's only that specific skill that is auto-casting from time to time. Even though nothing is to be found about it. So if we just confuse the heck out of them. No, crossbow archers. They're also very nice to confuse. If they're not shooting you, they're not hurting you. And life is a lot better when they're not hurting you. Priests, also very nice targets of opportunity there. Because if they are confused, they're not healing anyone. Just trying to go a little all out here. Is there anything over here? No, there's not. I'm trying to just use the change of vantage point a little bit more liberally now to see if I can find some secrets. No, there's something over there. Yes. Still wondering if there is a way to get down, because that would be pretty cool. Lots and lots of things in the box. It was a good box. But no, this does look kind of collapsed. So the Tomb of the Archon is one of the areas that does have a secret level underneath it. Oftentimes I expect it to appear in one of the earlier dungeons, but it's not until here where you actually do find one. But for that we have to walk a little further. Let's see, someone on the other side of the room. I must say, for a crypt that's mostly populated with necromancers now, I had expected there to be more skeletons and other undead summons. It's been relatively quiet. Though maybe they're not as focused on summoning skeletons as my own necromancers are. Let's see, let's just ignore a couple and then just shout at them. The other ones that I ran past, they will catch up. I feel in this environment it is relatively safe since the enemies are relatively weak compared to some of the foes we faced outside. Now the Yetis, they can actually dish out quite some damage, especially the yellow ones. The Order of Death Vigil doesn't feel all that effective. So probably because I'm saying this, I'm gonna get just struck down more or less within the next minute. Because that's often how it goes. Whenever I say things don't look all that scary, that's where it hits me. Ooh, more loot. Loot is good. Okay, this is the first staircase down. And the next one just before the boss fight. There is a secret to the side. Ooh, lots of enemies. But first, let's run in here and do a shout. There are some comments chosen. Wait, aren't we with comments chosen? Yes, we are. Yeah, so they're actually doing some damage if they're in greater numbers. Just one of them at a time. Not so much. But you got a healer. Let's take out your healer. I would have sworn there were more of my allies around here. Now all we see is this little Stormbearer dude. All by his lonesome. And more reinforcement for the enemy are streaming in. Is there anything back here that we overlooked? Ooh, wonderful. So a room like this that's a bit more spread out, something like the Horn of Gandar is less effective. Because, well, you're not gonna get surrounded by all of them. And if they're shooting at you from a distance, then that's not helping you. But still, oh, you only need to confuse a couple to turn them against their friends. And life is good when you turn enemies against each other. I guess the undead train stopped at some point. Okay, let's just run in and just put them against their friends. I did mention a couple episodes ago I wanted to experiment a little with some skills. For now, I'm just still trying to see if no, the Horn of Gandar is something that could be used as a main skill. I guess now in this case we are dual wielding, so we are losing some of the damage potential. And we're not entirely synergizing with its focus on pierce damage. So I guess was it a tactician? That's a Inquisitor soldier combo that has a focus on pierce damage, or a Inquisitor Nightblade also has pierce damage as a shared element. That might work. Dual. Oh no, a two-handed gun Nightblade is also an interesting thing. It's a bit of a stretch. Since the traditionally a Nightblade really wants to just dual wield melee weapons. It's not even ranged weapons, it's melee weapons. It's very much a melee class. So you do have the Amarista's Blade Burst, you have the I think that was a blade skill. And I think there was another one. My favorite skill on the Nightblade, of course, the Shadow Strike is a melee one. Can't really Shadow Strike someone with a two-handed weapon, even though that would be pretty funny. A two-handed ranged weapon, or any ranged weapon for that matter. Oh, hello there, priest. Goodbye there, priest. Right, let's just run in, do some shouting, blast them away. And then there was a secret over here with a small chest for this time. You, and you, and you. Okay, so boss room is there, so that means the loose torch is over here to let us into the secret. Let's unlock ourselves a devotion shrine. A terrible discovery. As always, just gonna walk this way. Oh no, we're gonna get ambushed by ghosts. Did not see that one coming. Let me say, as long as they just keep spawning in small packs, we are dealing with them rather well. There's nothing... Now, if there's just a couple of enemies, then we have pretty good focus on single target damage, but we also have some proc-based small group AoE. Now we got the multiple lightning bolts, we have the small explosions. So... Oh, that is gonna help us just to deal with small packs. So as long as enemies keep trickling in small packs, then that's gonna be pretty nice. Now for those situations where we do get surrounded, the Horn of Gandar is pretty neat. It does take some of the focus of the enemy away from us, and in the meantime we can just reduce a larger group to a smaller group. And that also kind of ends up resolving a lot of situations. Okay, let's just put down some runes here, some shouting, and problem resolved. It's only when we encounter some really tanky enemies Especially now those knight types with a high block chance. That is where things get a little more dangerous, a little more tricky. But then retreating and just doing hit and run tactics is a valid option. Oh, hello there, Necromancer the Timeless. You hurt? You're only 4 levels above me, but you hurt. Okay, we got a small circle here. Might as well make a stand in the circle. And that is him. Oh, hit, run. It kind of works. Mantle of the Weeping Eye, that is Ether and Frostburn and Electrocute. Not all that great. A Material Edge, if you're playing an Arcanist, this is a nice one-handed weapon for you. +1 to all Arcanist skills. For the rest, just a bunch of green items. We came here for the loot and of course for the Ruined Shrine. It takes an Ancient Heart, that is quite a steep price. But especially now that all the purple items are shared via the shared stash, it is much easier to do it because you can just lean on the purple hearts you've already gathered on previous characters rather than needing to find one specifically on the character you are playing. So we're going to continue with the quill, get ourselves a little bit of health and energy here. So next point is going to unlock it and gets us one step closer to Ultos. Because that is the current goal for this build. Must say, we have a decent number of defensive procs now. It does help to keep the build much safer than early on in the beginning when we did not have anything. I mean, there's not a lot of running away, and oftentimes when there is running away, no, it's not for an entire level, it's mostly just a single room to see if we can just funnel some enemies into a better situation, draw them out a little bit. We do inflict some damage over time, so no, just running away, making the enemy come to you does allow the damage over time component of the many skills to trigger as well. And in the end that just results in dead enemies and a living you. And of course, skills like the Horn of Gandar. If you can turn enemies against each other, it is a defensive skill as well. Even though it doesn't heal you, it doesn't really increase your defensive ability or your resistances. But the fact that it is a crowd control ability, it has defensive purposes. You can also use it as a way to just optimize your offense. Now, if enemies are just standing around being all confused while you attack them, well, that's just an efficiency for your offense, because you don't have to run. But you could say, no, that way you're just baking your defense into your offense. But I think at that point you're mostly just arguing semantics rather than whether it is really a different thing or not. Okay, so let's fight Malkadar. I think it was Malkadar that was guarding. Yes, you are the champion of Death's Vigil. So funny enough, Malkadar, the ashes were required to revive Malkadar. But here they're guarding them. So is that a little bit of an internal inconsistency, or did I miss something? I mean, I must admit, it's been a while since I listened to all of the lore for Kaimis Chosen. Just small hit and run, putting down some traps, things like that. Works pretty well. And the Sacred Ashes of Empyrean. They're here. We have safeguarded them. Though, funny enough, the tomb has been desecrated, has been overrun by the enemy. So we are taking the ashes out of the tomb and delivering them back to Father Kaiman. And we are actually delivering them to Father Kaiman himself rather than one of his underlings. So, equipped entrance. No, this is still the same old exit. I thought I had read a reference to this in the patch notes, but now I'm more wondering whether I read it as that. No, the entrance to Fort Heron and Tyrant's Hold, or mostly Tyrant's Hold actually, that it has been redone in the same style as this one. Because this is actually a pretty efficient loop already. Now everything just gets you back to where you need to be and there's not a lot of extra running around. So let's just leave our portal here, because now we are no longer needed in the dungeon downstairs. And let's have a look, get ourselves surrounded. Death's Vigil, yes, we'll shout at you and we'll murder you. And we'll pick up the loot you drop. And ooh, this looks like another party as well. Who is partying here? A couple of enemies. Quite some friends. See, Death Watcher's Pendant. Ah, that's why you get the +3 to +3 seconds duration to Call of the Grave. I was already wondering with my Necromancer where did I find it, but it's just simply here. You're standing upstairs, that's why I can't shoot you. Height is an interesting thing in the game. It's not always easy to see where someone is. Also, I'm getting myself surrounded and taking more damage than I would prefer to be. Okay, so from the opening bits to the real bits of Fort Ikon. I guess this is the inner fortress rather than the outer fortress or something along those lines. But more it's like, no, the fortress and the keep could also be. How is it depicted on the map? Well, it mostly seems to be actually two different things. This is just part of the tomb of the Archon and this is the actual fortress. Okay. Whatever they want to call it, we're just here for the quests and the loot and the kills. Oh, you, stop trying to murder me. It is not a nice thing to do. Hey. And we'll be under attack. Oh knows, what shall we do? Okay, let's just take a small step backwards here. Big iron side Hulk. I'm expecting... Ah yes, there we are. A unique one. Or a heroic one. Let's just put a defensive circle underneath our feet here and just go forth. There's enough allies nearby and things like that that we didn't really need to do hit and run tactics because enemies are not gonna go all that far. And the damage output of the allies, which was also pretty darn nice. So I got ourselves a Soul Flay, which it is a pistol, but it is more ether based rather than elemental based. And of course we're still using a set though. We're level 40 now. The set we're using is level 26, so we do need to shift into something new at some point, but I have not found something better yet. So for now we're doing with what we have. So let's have a chat with everybody over here. Oh, Inquisitor Creed wants to have a chat. So we are gonna take out Commander Lucius. There's a book here. I like books because books gives XP. And they're nice to read. But in this case, it's mostly for the XP. So, book. Oh, nearly 41. And let's see. So we have two quests for heading down deeper into Fort Ikon, which we're gonna do next episode. For now though, let's go back to Sorrow's Bastion. How are we with Chimus Chosen? Oh, wonderful. We are respected now, so that gets us access to the follow-up quest for the one we just did. I found that you don't have to put in too much effort to get the first couple of quests. It's respected with most of the factions. You will reach it while simply playing through. Getting honored status on the veteran is something you will have to put effort in. I think that's mostly meant for elite difficulty. That's also where you get the augments and some of the higher tier gear and blueprints. And revered is not meant for veteran at all. That is really just strictly for late elite or early ultimate, or even middle ultimate if you're not really farming all that much. So we gave the ashes to our buddy over here. So what's next? What is Imperial's will? Ooh, we have to kill Bane Gargoth. And we get a hit level 41. So Bane Gargoth is, I believe he is in the Abyssal Throne. Let's quickly have a look. Braving the Void. Obsidian Throne. Almost the same. So that is going to be in the Forsaken Wastes. On the Plains of Strife. So that is going to be near soonish. It is too bad we have not yet hit honored with the rovers. And 3,500 reputation by killing undead is quite a bit. That's if you would want to, you could do it. We've got the Steps of Torment, which is a nice place to run. We have the Runes of Old Arcovia, or the Undercity underneath it. That's also a nice one to run. So Broken Hills, go into the Undercity, then go back Broken Hills, walk to the Steps of Torment, clear that. There's a lot of undead there, and I think it will... The upper levels of the Undercity and Steps of Torment might peak out at level 30 or 40, but if you go deeper, they will scale at least to level 50 or something like that. So you can still get experience, but the further you are, your level is over the enemy, the less XP you're gonna get, and most importantly, you're gonna stop getting honor with factions for killing things that are just way too easy. But in this case, we're just gonna go into the Obsidian Throne, kill the demon, and we're just not going to bother about combining it with the Rover's quest. That's once we hit the honored status with the Rovers, if we're even going to hit it, I'll just go back and do the prerequisites for the Desecrated Shrine over here in the valley. Because for that you need to go into the Blood Grove. There is a portal to the Void here. Inside of that you will find one spirit piece. The portal to the Void on the Plains of Strife is going to get you the other one. And then after that you can combine them here and get yourself a skill point and access to the avatar of Mok Drogon, who is always going to be unfairly high a level, so you can't even fight him here. But that's a completely different topic. For now though, I'm going to thank you very much for watching. Next episode we're going to continue and we're going to hunt down Lucius in Fort Ikon. So, bye bye.